Welcome everyone to Our Medicine 2025, day 3 of workshops and demos. I am delighted to be here with Dony Unardi. Donnie is a data scientist at Genentech, and he leads the teal project, among many other wonderful projects internally. Donnie and I work together actually, so I'm intimately familiar with the amazing work he does, and I'm excited that he's here to present to all of us today. Donnie, please take over.
Thanks so much, Daniel. Hopefully you can hear me all right. Hey, everybody, and welcome to this workshop. I'm excited to be here. I think the 3 hour slot is very generous and I can cover a lot. And today my goal is to introduce you and get you familiar with Teal. This is an open source or package for exploratory data analysis. And the title today is from pre-built modules to custom module creation in Teal, but we'll go everything from beginning to end. Hopefully by the end of this, you'll get familiar, you'll be more have more opportunity to try that out and explore this yourself. Okay, so I was always curious to see if anybody, just by the show of emoji, have anybody heard about teal before? Just give me any emoji if you have. If you haven't, that's cool too. Okay. Okay, right. So I think the majority maybe is still somewhat new, which is great, awesome. All right, so again, a little bit about myself. My name is Donnie. I am currently a data scientist in Roche Genentech. I'm based in North America with Daniel. And for the past 3 years or so, I've been leading the teal product as engineering team lead. When I don't do work, I do like to play guitar. I play retro video games, and I swim, and I play basketball with my son. He beats me all the time, but that's okay. I need the exercise. All right. So this is the very simple agenda that we're going to go through today. And it's good that we have some opportunity for me to kind of talk a little bit about teal. And then after that, we're just going to dive in straight into the workshop. We're going to do some coding. We're going to use some environment. And I already prep everything for you guys. So no installation needed. We just jump right in and then we'll start coding. All right. And then finally, I'll share several additional resources on, is some additional video that you can watch after the workshop or some vignettes that you can read. All right. Okay, so what is teal? So teal is an R-Shiny based interactive data exploratory framework. So it's built with Shiny concept. Specifically, it's being built using Shiny module concept. So with Shiny module programming, and if you're familiar with Shiny programming, it's the best way for you to work on a large scale project. So the highlight is, of course, around namespacing. So if you implement Shiny module programming, you don't need to worry about namespacing conflicting with each other. The module itself is independent, right? So this is a modularized and standardized building blocks because we use the same concept when we build teal apps, teal framework. Because it's modularized, that means we can specialize, we can break the different features that teal can offer by having specialized R packages. This also makes our job easier to maintain. So it is a collection. When I said teal framework, it's actually a collection of specialized R package that do one specific thing. So for example, like dynamic filtering, this is for the filter panel, slicing and dicing, subgroup analysis. We have another one for code reproducibility, making sure that if you see what you like in teal modules, then you can pull the code and recreate the output in your validated environment, in your local environment, and so on. Like reporting engine, for example, if you like what you see and you want to make a report out of it, we kind of provide this it's a kind of boilerplate for you to make your reports, and which I will go over as well. So And then on top of that, we provided a collection of module packages that provide many readily available data summarization and visualization for different analysis needs. So the idea is, of course, you can plug and play this. We have several teal modules packages. If you like several analysis from this package and then the other package, you also like another one, the idea is you can just take those two modules, even though they're on their different teal module packages, and just use it right away in your teal app. Okay. All right, so let's compare traditional Shiny app, and then we're going to compare with teal framework. So with traditional Shiny app, right, if you've done Shiny before, you define your data in your session global environment, and then you make your UI and server in Shiny, right? So UI, you make like a fluid page and so on, and then you make a server function, input output session, and then you define your server activities there. These two objects either combine or split, you're gonna pass it to Shiny app functions, right? UI and server, and that's how you get your Shiny app. And with the Shiny module, teal framework, which is written, like I said, and on top of Shiny module programming, and that's why you will see a similar workflow here with Shiny module programming. The idea is that once the data is ready, we have what we call the teal modules. This is like a Shiny module but with teal flavors in it. Where then data then get consumed on each of this module. So each module will create their own UI and server, right? And then it'll get passed to teal framework, which is then try to combine all this UI and server together and become one UI and one server. Then we finally pass it to teal app. Pass it to Shiny and become a teal app. So this is the normal workflow, and what we like about this is that because it's very modularized, it could be very data agnostic, it could be very flexible. It actually open opportunity for collaboration and crowdsourcing, because as long as you put the right you follow the design and you put the right flavor to make this teal module, then anyone who can write teal app can use your module. So that's the general idea around this. Okay. So like I said before, this is kind of like the workflow as well. If you want to write the Shiny app, then we have what we call like this teal framework. And which I will go over a little bit of the whole list. And then we have the teal modules. So the framework or modules, we like to separate them because the framework really focusing on out of the box what you get. And I mentioned this a little bit about the filtering, the reproducibility, and then the modules is really more designed towards specific analysis. And the idea, of course, by doing this is that we don't have to, statically generate this output anymore. If you see here on this in this GIF, if you want to change between, say, you don't want to see overall survival anymore, and then now you want to change it to progression free survival, it's as easy as just clicking something in the what we call this an encoding set area, and then you can get your new output. So this is really for exploratory data analysis. And then once you like what you see, then you can use our code reproducibility feature and generate that same visualization. All right, so this is a big picture of what the teal framework and the teal module are packages. So you can see right here for the framework, like I said, we have a specific package to do specific things. And if you're interested, I put the link here for you to learn more about the specific area of these packages. But really, today we're gonna use just on all of these are dependencies of teal. So when you load teal, except teal gallery, of course, which I will go over in a second. But the rest, if you load teal, then all of these packages will load at the same time in your namespace. And then you can use them. The teal module packages is something that I always encourage people as an entry point, so that you don't have to make your own modules and you don't have to know about the intricacy on how to make teal modules. So if you're more interested toward like just using available modules, then this is the way to go. But today we're actually going to go cover the whole thing. We're going to do from beginning and from the end, and which we're going to cover on how to write these modules. Okay. So a little bit news that when I joined this project, it was around 2022, and I think we're prepping to release to CRAN. We spent about a year, and then we released to CRAN in 2024. So since then, because we have the infrastructure built in already, we've been continuously just pushing things to CRAN, and we just did another release 0.16 back in February this year. And then whenever we do release, we release everything because most of the time they're related with each other. So if we introduce a new feature in the framework, we want to make sure that our module packages also either get that new feature or being set up to be able to get that new feature. So we always try to do them at the same time. And of course, because this is all on CRAN, it's very easy to install it. We can just do install.packages teal. But if you're using one of our modules, for example, here, the teal.modules.general, then technically you can just do install.packages teal.modules.general because teal is a direct dependency of all of our module packages. So by just installing the module, you actually will get teal and the framework as well. So it's up to you. If you want to build your own modules, then you don't necessarily need to install the modules packages. But if you are using modules packages, which I highly recommend as a starting entry point, then you can do install packages, teal modules, and whatever, and just start from there. Okay, now it's time for the workshop. So the way that I do this is that I have created what a space for us. It's on Posit Cloud, and I do this all the time, every time I do a workshop. And the benefit of doing this is that my audience don't have to install anything. They can just join the space that I created, and then when they open that assignment, you will get everything ready. Teal already installed. You got my materials in there. My presentation also is going to be in there. And so it's all ready. So what I would like the audience to do, if you have a Posit Cloud account already, then that's great. If you haven't, I would give you a couple minutes. Just quickly make an account on the Posit Cloud. And then I'll show you guys the next steps on here on opening the repo. Yes, Daniel.
Donnie, there's a question in the chat.
Yes.
It says, could you please explain the difference between framework versus modules?
Yeah, absolutely. So the framework is more toward building the infrastructure to consume the modules. Because remember, these modules they're reusable, composable, right? And it's written with, you can think of it like a teal flavor of shiny module, right? So that's why we cannot put all the feature in the module, but the feature can tell the framework, this is the feature that I want from your modules. Some of the feature by get-go, we just give it for free, like filter panel, for example. You don't need to define it in your module. In your Shiny module can just be specifically for your analysis and your tuning for your visualization. But when Teal consume that, we'll give you for free that we will add the filtering mechanics that the data, whatever data that comes in to the module will be filtered first. So that's the difference between the modules and the framework. The framework is more heavy lifting on handling the bigger features of code reproducibility, taking care of filter panel, taking care of this reporting, logging mechanics, when the module only specifically for your analysis needs. Any other question? Okay. So somebody asked about GitHub link. Perfect. This is what it is. So if you have done your Posit cloud here. This is the repo. Let me just share it to the chat real quick. So what I want you to do is that if you come in here and there's a link to open the assignment, which what I mentioned before. So hopefully by clicking that link, this is what you will see. When you see this, and go ahead and click that, and because this is an assignment, it will create a new container or a new session just for you. So everybody will start their own session here. So let me wait until I see a couple more people joining in. If you guys wanna, if you need to sign up with the Posit Cloud first, I can put the link here as well. Oops. Oops. Maybe I'll just click it. There we go. Let me try refresh. Maybe everybody's still trying to sign up with the Posit Cloud. If that's the case, I'll wait a little more. What I'm hoping to see is to see a couple names here. As you click the assignment, I should be seeing people who have opened the assignment. If you don't see any space, you don't see any space. Well, you should see some space. Let's see. So Hajira, you don't see this Teal Workshop Medicine if you want to unmute yourself.
Yeah, Donnie. So I'm in the space, but I don't see an assignment for
Mm.
me. I don't know if you need to enable us as users for it. I'm not sure.
For me, it just says all content 0 and then nothing.
Yeah,
How
same.
about now? How about now? Can you
See.
refresh? How about now?
Let me reload. Yes, I see it. If I refresh now, it's fine.
All right, my bad. Sorry about that. Forgot to switch from a private to a space member. Okay, here we go. So go ahead and click on that, and I should be seeing your session here, and then I'll start. There you go. Thank you, everybody. Okay, let me join into the here as well. Okay, so I'll make this a little bit bigger. And hopefully everybody familiar with RStudio IDE. I'm not sure what you're seeing when you open your space, but personally, I always like my console on the right-hand side. So this is something that I set up myself. It's just because that as I code and I'm going to explain something, I like to write the manual here, and then I'll see the help page right here. So if your console on the bottom, and that's fine too. This is more of a preferences. Okay. All right. So hopefully this is what you see. You see there's some files here, but if you go to packages, if you click on packages, then hopefully if you look for teal, then you'll see that all of them already installed already. So we can just go ahead and start with our workshop. And And then I want to explain a little bit how we're going to do this. So this is the my slides. So after the workshop, I'll just give the link to the repo, and then you'll see all this contents there. And then there's a folder called code. So this is going to be our workshop coding material. We're going to do a hands-on coding here. The idea is that I think I'm going to go with 1 and 2 together, and then we'll take a break. And then as we build this 3 and 4, this is custom module we're going to make. And then we're going to keep improving until the end. You can create something that really similar to what we've done with teal.modules.clinical and teal.modules.general. If you're struggling to follow along with me, but then you don't want to, you want to still catch up, you can always go to the answer. This is actually the complete program for each of the exercise, but use this lifeline however you want it, but it's here just in case you're having a hard time following along with me. But I promise I'll go very slow because we do have an ample time to cover this. So if there's, maybe I'll do a last check before I start this. Everybody's doing okay, able to see this, able to get their session. Yep, thanks, Hajira. Should I try to see if anyone else? Okay, sounds good. Okay. Feel free to interrupt me because the screen on Zoom, it kind of go over my browser on the right-hand side, so I have to minimize it. But please, my plan was I'm going to try to stop every now and then because I do want to give people time to type in. But feel free to just jump in, or Daniel, feel free to just stop me if there's any questions, and then I can address that before we move forward. Okay.
Okay, will do.
All right, so I'm gonna minimize
Thanks.
my this top right corner. All right, okay, here we go. Let's get started. Hopefully we start with this library teal. This is something that that already installed in your session. So you can highlight this if you want. And for the shortcut is for me, I'm on Mac, so my shortcut is always the command return. So then it'll just load teal right away. So here you shouldn't see any. Maybe you see some messages if this is your first time, but maybe because I already did this before, I don't see any messages. But now you should be able to make some teal apps here. Okay, the most important function on the teal framework is what we call the init function. So if you do init like so, then you'll get this documentation. And I hope you're familiar with how to pull this. If you want to pull several explanation of a function, you always start with question mark, and then you just do the function name. In this case, the function name is init. So that's right here too. This is the most important function for you to start teal app. So init is the function name, and then there are two required arguments, which is the data and module. And technically, that's all we need to create a teal app. But this is, of course, not a simple data. It has some teal structure to it, which we will go over in a second. There is a third argument, the one that what we call filter, and I'll cover this again. I'll cover this later. This is for what when we want to do a predefined filter for your teal app. We used to have additional arguments, but we chose to deprecate this because we want the init function to be very, very simple. So instead, we're going to come up with some different way to do this so that we don't always have to keep appending more stuff to the init function. We want init function to be very composable, easy to extend if we want. So this is why you see this is deprecated. For those who are familiar with teal, you probably know about this already. This is to add header and footer, but I'll show you guys what's the new way to do this with 16.0. Okay, so we know we need data and modules. So let's go with data first. And if you want right now, before we dive in real quick, we'll just make an object. We can call it app. And then, you know, an arrow to the left. This is how the assignment goes with R. And then we can just call the init function like this, right? And then we know we're gonna need data, and we know we're gonna need modules. Okay, let's just stop here. I'll let you guys write that. I'll give 1 minute. Or maybe 30 seconds. Okay. Now, so let's look into the data first. And this is what I like about 16.0. We've done a lot actually to kind of improve our documentation. I think when we first released this, it was 13 something, and then we got a lot of good feedback from the community. 14, 15, and come 16. I think between 15 and 16, we did a lot of focus on documentation. Literally, the whole increment is just documentation. So I really, and this is how I'm going to run this workshop, just to prove that I can go around this and learning about Till just using manual. I mean, we have great vignettes, by the way. Like our vignette I felt like it's easy to understand as well. But just so that I don't have to go toggle back and forth, I think manual also a good resource for you guys. So let's look at this. I'm not going to focus on teal data module, but the one that we need to know is that it requires an object of a teal data object. So if you read the manual here, the one in the parenthesis is just like what is the expected type of the value of the argument that's coming in. So we know it needs teal data. And then the question is that, okay, how do you make this teal data? So we do have a constructor to make an object with teal_data class. And this is and it's called teal_data function. So if I click this, then it'll say that, all right, this is how you initialize the data for teal application. And this is the function to make that object. The ... this is ellipsis. It means that, okay, it can take any number of objects as long as you provide it with as name and value pairs. And that's actually the only thing that you need to run this. So if I come back here again, and then there's an examples on the bottom too, right? There's an example on the bottom, and this is a very simple examples on how you make teal data, as long as you provided the name value pair. So this is saying that, hey, can you make a teal data? I'm going to name this object X1, and then the value of this X1 object will be iris, which is like a data frame, and then has a couple columns. And then we make X2, and then the value of that X2 object will be empty cars, which is also a data frame with column lower. But then later on, because you call it this X1 and X2, later when we want to interact with teal data and we want to call the object, we have to use X1 and X2. Okay. All right. So to make this easier to read, we can just make our own new object. So maybe here we just make data like so. And then to follow here, it says teal data. Okay, so we know that's a function name, teal data like so. All right, so what we want to target is just this ellipsis. Now we're just going to provide any number of objects that we want to teal, as long as available in this global environment. I'm going to use the same example. I'm going to use iris and empty car. So here I can say, but maybe I'll change the name, how it's called. So if I do iris2, that's the name that I'm going to assign in teal data. And then the value of iris2 will be iris, right? And then maybe the other one is empty cars, like so. Maybe I'll name it 2 as well, just to differentiate. And then the value for that empty cars 2 is going to be empty cars. Now, before we pass the object to here, what I always like to do is that I'll just double check first that it's actually not giving me any error. So what I did was I just highlight and then I just do Command Enter. But I think you can use this button as well. Yeah, as long as you highlight it, you can use this button as well. So let me close this a little bit. Now, it looks like we have made our teal data object. Let's call it and see what that looks like. So if I call data, yeah, that's great. We have, this is like the print, the print format for teal data. Here you have some environment address, and then there's some bindings and data frame. And we learn more about teal data later, how to pull this object out of teal data, how to play around with it. You might notice about this unverified teal data object, and which I will go over once we run this init app. Okay, so let's live like this for now. So this is it. You have made a teal data object. So if you call class on that data, and then you can see, yes, this is a teal data object. So then technically this is done. You can just do it like this. So what I just assign the data argument with the value of data that I get from here. So the data part is done. So let me stop here. I'll give about maybe 30 seconds to just make sure to follow and type everything. Let me know if the font not big enough. If you want me to make it a little bit bigger. Is the font look okay, Daniel?
It looks good for me on my screen. Thank you.
Okay. All right. That felt like 30 seconds. Let's move on. So we've done the data part. Now we're going to do I just click back here, and then now I'm going to do the modules. So let's learn about the modules. So the modules, now this is that modules packages is, this is actually where you're going to put the modules from the module packages if you're going to use the one that we pre-built for you, for the community. But really is that it's a list of teal modules or teal module. So teal modules, plural, is just a collection of singular teal module. So really like multiple teal module become teal modules, right? So then you can see some examples here. There's like, okay, this is how you do a modules, which is if you scroll down and see the examples. Oh, can I go a little bit further? Oh, sorry about that. Okay, here we go. So you can either make a modules like this, and then you plugged in your module, or you can do a grouping of modules into one module like this. Let's not complicate it. We're just going to use one module. So here, what you want to do is we're going to make a modules function like so. And then inside, it's going to be a module. Now, in Teal, there is a module that we have made for testing purposes and for showcasing purposes so that we don't have to pull it from the other module packages just to show what Teal can do. And the name of that module is straight enough is example module, like so. That's the name of the module. So if you, in your modules argument, you just call the modules function, and then you pass the example module, then you're pretty much done. And we'll run this in a second to see what the Shiny app, the Teal app looks like. I'm gonna run this. So it didn't give me any error, which is nice. Now, if you want to see, if you recall again my presentation, now at this point, because we have passed everything into Teal, then this app object should have UI and server, which what Shiny needs really to run Shiny app. So if I do names app like so, then you can see UI and server. So Now we're ready to run the app. And to run a Shiny app, you have to call Shiny app function like this. And then if you can see here, the argument is UI and server. So because we know our app is actually like a list of UI and server, and you can actually also see this if you open this app right here in the environment. If you click it, then you can see there's UI and server. Then what we want to do is that within the Shiny app, we can say, all right, this is my UI and this is my server. And I'll wait until you do this. I'll give about maybe 15 seconds and then we can run this together. Okay, let's run it together. You run it on your end, I'll run it on my end. All right, so this is a teal app, and the let me go through with several mechanics here. If you have provided more than one module, which I can show in a second, then you have two different tabs actually. Then you can toggle between the two tabs. But because we only have one, then that's why you only see a single tab. And the right-hand side, this is what we call the filter panel. And again, the module does not have to define filter panel. Filter
Donnie?
panel, yes.
Sorry, you have to share the browser.
Oh, sorry. I'm gonna change the screen to all applications. Sorry, I forgot to do that. There you go. Can you guys see it now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, so let me repeat that again. So because we only define one module, that's why we only see one tab here. If we do multiple modules, which I can do, I'm just gonna repeat the example module, then you'll see multiple tabs here. This right-hand side is what we call the filter panel. Like I mentioned earlier, this is out of the box, you got it. Every module will get this. And so you don't need to code it in the module. The framework handles this. The one that you see here, even though this seems like a two area, right, like this, but this left part and the middle part is actually what comes from teal modules. The example module function that we run, it creates this and it creates this with the location of left and right like so. So the module is very simple. All this module does is just showing the content of the object inside teal data. Now, if you recall, I named this Irish 2 and empty cars 2, right? So, but the value of each of the data frame is just basically Iris and empty car. So if I switch in between these two, you see how this reacts to it. And then if you like what you see, and if you want to reproduce this in your own local environment or validate an environment, and the module's already prepared to pull some code. So this is what we call the show our code button. If you click it, it'll give us the ingredients to reproduce your the visualization that you see here. So let's play around a little bit. So we're looking at Iris 2, right? So this is how you play around with the filter panel. You can expand and say that, all right, I want to filter species. And then let me just see one value. So you see the number observation decrease. So we have the total, but then now it's become 50, right? And then I can leave this here. So let's say if I like this, like, all right, this is what I want. Now you can click the show our code and you can see that it's adding that filtering code in there. So when you run this, you will definitely only get the Setosa species of Irish data set. Okay. All right, so I hope that's clear. I'm just going to repeat this process again one more time. Again, because modules are reusable, it doesn't matter how many times you want to do this. So if I can do the same module 3 times, now if I run this and run the Shiny app again, then you can see there are 3 example modules, right? So that's the idea. Like you have one module from one package, you have your own custom module, or you have another module from another package, and you can just combine them together. As long as you load the library ahead of time, you can basically pick and choose whatever you want. All right.
So can I just ask a quick question, Donnie? So in terms of just how for me to map this to a clinical database for like the data sets would be, say, different CRFs, is that an appropriate way of thinking about it? And maybe
Yeah.
the modules are different studies, is that possible, or how would that be?
So the module would be more of analysis, not specific study. So if your study have several analysis that you want to do, then those what the modules are. So it's a lot more targeted than just a study. So you can, if you want to think of it like that, you can think of the teal data. Yes, because it's data agnostic, you can feed whatever you want. You can feed CRF data, SCTMV data, ADAM data set. But then for the modules would be more of more of the targeted analysis, what you want to do with those data.
Got it. Thank you. That really helps sort of map it to what I would use it for. Right. Thank you.
Yeah. So if your study has several analysis that you want to do, then you will create that many modules to do those analysis. But highly recommend just look at our the teal modules general. Check that out because it's very data agnostic. The teal modules clinical, it's geared toward ADAM data set because a lot of our community is actually from statistical programming. But yeah, so those are what we have for now.
Great. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. I hope you guys following along, and I hope you see that how easy it is to make a teal app. I mean, it really is just a few lines, and especially if you're pulling in something from our modules packages, it really is. It's just a matter of introducing yet another module. Actually, let's just do something on the fly right now. I know in teal modules general, there is a very simple module called TM data table. So what I did is just I load that teal modules general library statement right here. And I know there's a module called TM data table like so. And this is also a very simple module. So I'm copying this and I'm just gonna go to my console. I'm just gonna pull the documentation. There you go. Yeah, this is just a data table viewer. There's not even any require argument, just very similar to our example module from teal. This is from teal modules general. I think this is a lot more polished way to view data sets because I believe this is taken from the DT package. There you go. Yep, the DT package. So if I just plug it in here like this, right? And I know there's no other required argument. Then if I just rerun this code again, then there you go. I get a new tab called data table. If I open this, yes, this is a much better viewer compared to this verbatim text output. So now you can choose which which column that you want to see. I think if it's more than X, there you go. Like if it's more than an X number of columns, we also activate this live search that you can just type and then pick that column, which is really nice. And again, if we wrote this in the right way, then anything that you do here. So if I just want to look for cylinder 8, for example, then it'll get updated, right? And the module doesn't need to worry about the filter panel as long as there's an argument that we need to see in the module, which we will learn. And as long as the teal framework see that, it will able to pass the data straight to the module from whatever being filtered. Okay. So I'm gonna take maybe 5 minutes break. Go ahead and play around with this and then I can also answer any question if anybody has any questions. But maybe this is a good stop for now because the next topic that I want to cover is venturing more about teal data. I saw an interesting question here while everybody taking a break. Can the data set by remote lazy eval? Yes, yes. So with teal, we heard about this use case about needing data not readily available in the session, and that's why we create teal data module. I will not be covering that because I felt like that's uh, more of a intermediate to advanced. But there is a way to kind of postpone the data to be loaded into the teal app. So the benefit of doing this is that let's say you have your data available in the data set in a database somewhere, right? And you want to make connection only if somebody is authenticated, right? So you don't want to do that within session. You want it to do like in the Shiny app itself. So we can do that. So once they got authenticated, and then we have the data pool happens only after authenticated. So it reads everything and it's put on hold, and you can read data remotely. I can provide some documentation on how to do that, but this is really the exact case of what we call a teal data module. Reload the Shiny app and the data set has disappeared. I don't understand that. Do you want to unmute yourself and maybe you can tell me what you see? Shanushka?
Sure. When I at the My Module tab, when it says choose a data set, if I click on the drop down arrow to pick a data set, it just a white bar flickers underneath it, and it never gives me the option to actually choose a data set.
Interesting. So you're not seeing this?
Yes, it worked the first time, but then when we added the new modules, it stopped working.
Interesting. Do you have any error message? Can you see my code? Does it look the same?
Okay, let me take a look. Yes, it does.
Okay.
The message that I'm getting is warning in module child scope input, child scope output, and then automatic log file creation
Yeah,
disabled.
that's fine. That's fine. That's yeah, we don't need to worry about that. This is more for our I did not install several package, but that's okay. So that's interesting. You don't see that. Well, maybe what you could do, let's go ahead and have you just restart your R session. So
Okay.
I'll restart it together with you like this, right? And then just run the whole thing again. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe there's something happening. But here I just rerun it again and I can see it again. Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing it. Give me just a second. Oh, it works now.
Good. Good to hear. Let's oops, stop that. Let's move forward. Okay, so we're gonna do, I thought I want to do teal data first. So if you recall, when I run the data and I look at this, it says unverified teal data object. And this is because we also focusing on code reproducibility, and we want to make sure that any code being added to the teal data object can be run and can produce whatever the object that currently in teal data. Let me pull again this documentation on teal data. So we were talking about this one, right? But then look at the last argument. There's a code argument. So the idea of teal data stores only two things. Is an environment that stores objects and store code. That's it. It can also store join keys, but mainly we store objects and code. So if you're interested in code reproducibility, then for your data part, you need to provide teal on how to create your data ahead of time. The modules most of the time already have code embedded in the modules. So if you provide teal data to the modules with your data preparation code, then you will get a complete set. This is the preparation code, and this is the module code, and that's how we do code reproducibility in teal. Nothing got evaluated right away in teal outside of teal data. You can, if you don't care about code reproducibility in teal, you can do it. But if you think code reproducibility is the use case when you build your teal app, then you have to adhere to these rules. So here, if I come back to this again, this is how we make teal data. Basically, what I want to do here is that there should be a code on how to make iris2 like this. So the code will look something like this. So here I'm going to say, all right, the way to make iris2 is by assigning iris2 to iris and empty cars2 to iris, like so. So here I'm telling teal data, hey, even though I told you I want iris2 to have a content of iris, and I want empty cars2 have the content of empty cars, this is actually how you make those objects. So these are the ingredients or the code to make those objects. And if we do that, so if I pass that statement, and if I run this again, all right, you will still get unverified teal data object. But now if I do get code, so this is the method to pull the code from teal data object. If you do like this, I don't know why that keeps showing, then you'll see this is the expression that I just put in the code as a character value. If you want to make this look nicer, you can do cat instead. So let me do like this, then you'll see it kind of nicer. And the benefit of adding this code is that now you can use our verify method. So the verify method is helping us just to double check if the code in teal data can actually produce the same object that you define here on the first argument. So if I do verify like this, then now I'll get, okay, this is a verified teal data object. This is actually returning a new data object. So really what you want to do, you want to get whatever being returned and override our data object. So here I would do data and then verify data like so. So let me wait a little bit for you guys see if you, so you can type this. All right. Hopefully, you guys still follow along with me. Now, when you do it this way, then everything still run correctly. So if I run till app like so, yep, everything still run just fine. So I can still switch between, I can still switch on a different module, and everything will be okay. Now, if I go to show our code, now I see that specific code from the modules. So this is the one that we just added into that code argument. All right. Now, then we heard a use case that, okay, we felt that this is repetitive because if there's a lot of pre-processing to prep the data, and then if I use teal data like this and I provide the object, that means what I need to provide on this code is actually what I already did outside of the teal data. So like whatever you've done within the session, I have to copy that code again and pass it to the code here. And we understand that, and we heard about this story too. And that's why we come up with a better way to define your teal data, more like a helper way. And this is what actually we've been doing a lot. And this is what we want to call, we want to introduce the extension of a base R function called within. So if I pull the within manual here, so this is from teal code within, I think it's the Q1 one. So, so here within is the ability to add or to inject more expression as an inline expression into an object. And in this case, it's going to be our teal data object. And it has some example here. So within, this is the teal data object. And then you can just put your expression here right away. You don't need to do the name value assignment anymore if you do the within. You can just put it straight here. So what within will do is that it will make the object for you and will take this expression and put it in the code slot for you. So this is like a helper to do the assignment and the creation of the object, right? So if I want to convert this into within, then I would do something like this. So here I'm just going to comment this out. So here I'm going to say data, and it's going to be in within statement like so. The first argument is going to be teal data because that's the constructor. And then I'm going to say, all right, within that teal data, please create iris2 and empty cars2 like so. Right. And just by doing this, the data that get created by this within statement, it will be teal data, and then we've got this as a code slot and in the code slot of the teal data object, and it will be verified because we're not telling teal data how to build it. We're telling teal data create it for me. And this is a different story. We're telling them, all right, this is the object and this is the code to make that object. But in within, we don't do that anymore. We just say, here's the code, run it. And within will automatically assign the object and the code into the respective slots. Pay attention to the curly braces right here, because this is an expression. And so this is the convention that we want to do. So within that's parenthesis, we call teal data. This is just an empty. So if you do it like this, you get an empty teal data object. But now we're just saying that, all right, start from an empty one. I just want to inject this code into that teal data object, and then give me a new teal data object that has everything. So if I run this, and I would be getting another teal data object, but check that out, it's verified by default. And again, it's because it runs it for us. And that's why by default, if you choose within, it will be verified. And this is what's nice. And we always, I think once we introduce this, maybe 15 something, we want user to keep continuing using within. And this is a much better way than having to repeat the data pre-processing code in the code argument for teal data. So let me stop here. I give about maybe 1 minute to kind of have everybody type it. Let me come back here. Okay, looks like we got some error. Can I see your data statement, Hajira? Yeah, so that error just tells me that it looks like the teal data object was not created correctly. That looks correct. That looks correct. Let's see here. Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe the iris. Yeah, that's right. Good eye. Good eye, Michael. That's correct. I love it. Thank you. Okay, so that's 1 minute pass. Last thing I want to cover on this exercise is the third argument of init. So coming to init again, we have a third argument, filter. We're going to play around with this. So filter is a way to tell teal about predefined filter. This is useful when you know your audience, and you know that every time your audience set up open their teal app, these going to be the filters that they want to do while they're interacting with the teal app. So we're gonna do so by doing this favor, user don't have to create or add that plus button and add the filter interactively. We'll just create them by default as they open their teal app, right? So we're going to demonstrate that in a bit here. So teal slices, that's the name of the object that we're going to play around with. And just like the idea of modules and module, plural and singular, so teal slices is the plural version of teal slice, which is the single. So many teal slice singular becomes a teal slices plural, right? So So I know that just like modules and modules like so, filters, I know we're gonna do something like this, teal slices. And let's see the examples here on the manual. So if I click teal slices, this is from teal, and the first one is this ellipsis right here, and this is what I meant, any number of teal slice object. So individual filter that we're going to add on a teal app is actually going to be a teal slice object. Now, if you scroll down, there should be a link to right here coming from teal slice. So teal.slice is our package that handles filtering. So if you click this, this is what we want to do. So inside teal slices, so here coming back to the app.r, intro.r, I have created teal slices function like so, right? Now, I know in here, there's going to be individual slices. Or if I can type like so, it's going to be individual slices. Now, the only required argument is actually this two. Even though there's no default value here, but this is actually can be populated automatically. And then the expression is something that I'll show you in a bit here on the different behavior of teal. But let's focus on data name and var name first. So let's assume that we want to, when this app is loaded by default, I want to see species as my filter if I for the iris data set, the iris2 data set in this case, right? So the data name right here is going to be iris2 because if you recall, this is the one that we told teal data store it as this name. So that's an iris2. The var name is going to be the name of the column in that data set, and which is going to be species like this. Okay. Let me run this real quick before I give you guys time to type this. So here, if I load it, there you go. You have this filter added right away before user doesn't have to do this anymore. It's just here right away. Okay. All right. Let me give you 1 minute. Let's go ahead and follow along with this. I didn't start it. Maybe I'll take just another 30 seconds then. Okay. Hopefully everybody has chance to just run it because we're gonna see another different behavior for the slices. Let me stop the timer. Okay, here we go. So you may notice that there are a couple other arguments here. So another thing what we could do, just to make this look nicer, I'm just gonna make it indented like this. So you could also do selected. So this is by default, a value will be selected. So you can say selected, maybe by default, it's gonna be for Genica, right? So now if I run this, then you can see Virginica selected by default, right? The one that we just introduced to further control user interactivity is we introduce the idea of fix and anchor. So we can start with fix first. When you set fix equal true, this means user cannot change the value. So now we have this lock button right here. So if you click on it, there's no option to select a different value. This is fixed only for Virginica value. Now you can remove it. You can remove the filter, and then if you add it again, then it will behave just like usual, right? But if you, as when the app first start, it will always fix to Virginica. So that's one behavior. Another behavior is what we call anchored. So anchored is the ability to prevent user to remove them. So I can't remove this, the X symbol is not there, but I can still choose a different value here, right? I just cannot remove them. So this is another behavior that we introduce. Of course, with the you can also do both fix and true. So if you do fix and true, then it's locked. You can't do anything, cannot remove it, can't change it. We have a couple use case where this type of behavior is needed, and this is why we expand teal slice to fulfill those requirements. Okay, so let me stop here. You guys, I'll give 1 minute. Go ahead and play around with fixed and anchored and get yourself familiar with that. I would also maybe try to challenge you. How about you create yet another teal slice, maybe for a different data set, right? And then and play around with those as well. I'll give everybody 1 minute. Great. Good. All right. Let's see what else my to-do list. Okay, I'm going to do 2 more things, and then let's take a more longer break, okay? Because this is a lot. So if you recall on init as well, again, this is maybe for those who have been familiar with teal, we had some deprecated functions. You can see here on the documentation, like what is the preferred way to do it. Here, we actually want to do what we call a modify header. So for now, even though it's deprecated, you can still use it. So if I do header straight from here, so this is within init function, right? So I just define a header, even though it says deprecated, but that's fine. Maybe we can just, let's just do like an H1, and I say my teal app like this. I mean, if you run it, I think you'll get some message. Let's see if we do. There it is. We got some message, right? And that's fine. I mean, it's still running. It still runs my header. But I think once we introduce a couple more version, we might be completely removing it. And that's the whole purpose of adding this deprecation message. But yeah, we have a way to update our header. But the preferable way moving forward is actually using an extension, like a piping extension like this. Oops, that's not right. Hold on, I accidentally closed that. Which is a pipe like this, and it will say modify header. And then So modify header is by default, the first argument is the teal app argument. This is a teal app. So because we're piping this, we don't need to worry about the first argument anymore. Let's just go ahead and put the elements. So the second element, I'm just gonna say just exactly the same that I've done before. H1, my teal app like so. So if I close that, and if I run this, yeah, it's producing the same thing, right? This is what I want to see on the top. Okay. There's one more things that I want to cover before we take a longer break. I just want to show everybody kind of like a complete picture of a teal app. Here, and there's no coding here. I'm just going to go through the code and explain to you what each section means. And maybe when we take a longer break, you can play around because after that, then we're definitely going to be start coding from 3 to 7, okay? So this is the second one. And in this example, I'm actually using the old style of the coding here. But there's an explanation on using the newer style within. So we'll do both sides. There one more that I want to show everybody as well. So in this example, we pulling some modules from teal.modules.clinical. And let me just run it real quick, and then we'll go step by step what this made of, the little ingredients to make this. So this is what it looks like. I mean, it's kind of very similar to what we had so far, except now we have some new stuff here, right? This is what we call the reporter functionality. We still got the filter panel. And then now our module has a lot of parameters that you can do to kind of influence your visualization. We have a table. We have, this is another table now, and this one is a plot. There you go. And just to demonstrate real quick about Reporter, the idea of Reporter is that if you like what you see here, so this is have some predefined filter already. If you like what you see here, you can add it to a report. So if I say, this is a card that I like this output. And then now if you go to Report Previewer, you can get those elements. So what this feature does is that you can continue adding a new card to the report previewer, and then you can only focus on this card that you just added, and you can download it as a report. What happened behind the scene is that we just download them as an R markdown. We convert this card into a content of an R markdown. And then depending on your document type, we just render the R markdown for you ahead of time. Then when you download it, we'll give you everything. We'll give you the output, we'll give you the R markdown. If there's any images or plot, we'll give the PNG file. If there's a table, we'll give you the RDA or RDS file. We give all the ingredients to the users. And we do understand that it may not be a final version quality, but this is more of like a boilerplate for you to take it from there. So it's up to the user to play around again with the R markdown, adding more content, and just make it more robust for a formal presentation or publication. Okay, so that's a quick spiel about Reporter. So coming back again to this, right? So I want to talk a little bit about a different constructor. And this is mainly only relatable for those who work in clinical trials because we work in clinical trial a lot. Now, if you've noticed, I'm not using teal_data. I'm using a different constructor called cdisk_data. And don't get alarmed. This is practically the exact same thing with a teal_data. So let me open the manual here. So it's just another wrapper around teal data. teal underscore data function. But the main key was it provides with join keys and to your teal data object. Because it is Atom data set or any cities data set, there is a set model, right? It's a data standard model. Then it's easier to guess the join keys and how each data sets are related to each other. And we just want to provide this helper to our users. If you are playing with cities data, Atom data set, then we can help you set this join keys for you so that you don't have to, right? What is the purpose of the join keys? The join keys is will tell teal how your data relate to each other. So if you're filtering one data set, the other data set will get filtered as well if you provide the join keys to those data sets. And we'll demonstrate that in a second here. So don't be alarmed. It's an exact same thing. Even conceptually, the function still look the same and feels the same. You provide the same way. It's still name value pair. It's still, you provide the code in there, right? Now, if I run this, then I'll get a verified teal data object, right? The only difference is that if I do join keys, and if I call that data, the one that I just made, then I get this nice relationship between the different data set in my teal data, because I know this is an Atom data set. The other caveat is that it has to be named specifically, like this one. It has to be in uppercase and an ADSL and whatever that we have in our library. And I'll show you in a second what that library looks like. So this is nice. I mean, all you need to do is just provide the name, and then we'll do the join keys for you. Now, similar with teal data, we also acknowledge that, okay, maybe if there are too many or too long of data pre-processing, it may be too repetitive to copy and paste those code again in the code argument here. And of course, the same way how we've done with teal data, you can also use the within statement like so, right? You can do the within statement like so. However, there's one thing that user need to be aware is that when you're using the within statement like this, teal data doesn't know what you're about to do. And that's why it cannot assign the join keys automatically, because it doesn't know what you're trying to do. It doesn't know what object you're trying to make. So while I still can run this data function, so if I call this, yeah, I can steal everything. ADA, ADSL, ADTT is still there. But then if I do join keys, data, then I'll get an empty join keys object. And that's not what we want. We want the join keys to be in there, which is why we also provide a way for you to still use our dictionary to assign these join keys, because they're standard anyway. We provided like a dictionary for this assignment. In fact, this is actually what's happening behind the scene when you use this first statement right here. Once we identify what you're building in cities data, then we just automate running this code behind the scene. But because within, we don't know ahead of time what user's trying to create, that's why we have to do this extra step. So if I run this last part, and if I just call the join keys data again, now I see it, and it's the same result that I've done on this one. If you want to see complete list of what is the default to this join keys that we have here, then this is what it looks like. So this is what I did is I copy this object. This is once you load teal or teal data, you'll get this object for free. So if you want to pull any specific join keys from these objects, you can just do like this, like you get pull it, subset it only for specific data set, and assign it to teal data object. So that's a lot. I'm gonna go ahead and let's take like maybe 30 seconds just for you to maybe play around running this and try around with the join keys before I go down to the bottom part where I want to talk a little bit about the filter panel. Okay. Another thing that I want to highlight, so I'm going to run this code again. I want to show it. I'm not sure if people caught that, but if you see here, so how many filters we have here? 3. And if I switch to a different module, we got 4, right? And then here, different modules again, we got 2. Okay, so what we've done with this with this app is that we have activate what we call a module specific filtering. This is another use case that we had where user don't necessarily wants to apply a filter globally, which was our default behavior. So if you don't explicitly call this feature, Teal will always apply your filter globally. So across the modules, you'll have the same filtering. But if you activate this filtering capability to be module specific, then you can control which filter goes to which module. And that's why you can see the different number of filtering in each of these modules. Okay. And that's what I want to highlight. And that's why we need to go down here so I can show you what that looks like. Here we go. So this is the complete code, and it's just very simple. It's just that if you look at teal slices, so this is from teal. Then if you recall this, right? Like we've seen this before, this is the first argument, right? The dot, and this is any number of teal slice object. And you can see here, there's a module specific argument. That's the one that we want to activate. So if you set it to true, then the argument that we're going to use is mapping, where we can map which filter that goes to which module. We can still map some filters into a global filter, but once it runs on the teal app, it's still going to be treated as individual filter for the module. It's just that it's going to apply it on all the modules, but as you interact, it's still treated as a single filter for a module. I'll show in a second what that means. You may wonder, wait, where's that ID come from? Now, if you recall in teal slice, there is an ID statement. So if I open teal slice, so there is an ID statement. If you read the instruction, it says, well, if you have an expression, then it has to be set. But if you don't have an expression, if you don't use the expression argument, by default, it's going to be data name, space, and then var name value. But because we know we're going to start assigning filter teal slice into specific module, it's always a good idea. Just assign it to something that you're familiar with, and then that you can see, and then you can just assign it to specific module. Right. So here the safety flag, and then we have some a related event, some sex and age, and then these are applied globally. So if I run this, right? So again, recall this, we have sex and age. It says that this is going to be global filters. I don't want to, I want to avoid confusion that, okay, this is going to be global, like it applied globally. It's just getting assigned globally, but not applied globally. So let me show you what that means. So here, every every module will have sex and age, right? Let's double check sex and age, and then this one as well, right? So now it's just the assignment to the global modules. So if I remove one of these, if I say the other modules, yeah, sex still there. So just want to make sure that there's no confusion when you activate the module specific filters and you still map some filters globally, it's still being treated as its own individual filter for the module, right? Okay. And finally, the last one that I want to mention is we have something what it called the count type. This is to give you the ability to see the number of affected observation versus the total observation. So let me show you what that means. So here, if you go to this, if you open this up, then you see two numbers, right? So this is the number of observation with the value of Y, and this is the total observation of safety flag records. And by setting count type to all, you get these two numbers, and then you see this nice kind of gradient blue that representing those numbers. If you don't set that, so let's say if I comment that out, then what you get is just the total number for that record. So I think this is something that we were experimenting with. I personally like to always set it to count type to all. It's just adding more information to what I'm seeing. Okay. I hope you guys following along. It has been a good session here. We've been covering this for an hour and a half now. I would like to take a longer break, maybe 15 minutes break, before we start our next exercise from 3 to 7, where we will be building custom teal module. During the break, if you go ahead and play around, try to create your own teal app if you want. Trying to make it simple and just get an idea on how to use the init function, how to use the example module. You can just use example modules and try to play around on how to define your data and try to run it. Okay, so let's take 15 minutes break and I'll see you guys in 15 minutes.
Thank you so much, Donnie. I love it.
I'm gonna go and get a drink. I'll be right back.
Let's see.
All right, that's 15 minutes. I hope you guys are still around. Thanks again for hanging around and still within this workshop. The next couple exercises of what we're gonna do is I'm gonna teach you how to make a custom teal modules. And of course, this is more geared toward for those who are looking for specific things that's not existing in our teal module packages. And of course, if you want to write a custom teal modules and you think that this is useful for the broader community, for the open source community, I would highly recommend that you can just submit them into our modules package, and let's co-create this together, and let's build this together. But so today we're gonna go step by step and learn how to make a custom teal modules. Now, I actually have set up some snippets, but I'm not sure if it's working with the new session or not. I'm not sure if the global option in our studios actually get carried over, like all these different settings get carried over. But let's try it. If it doesn't work, I don't want you to waste your time writing custom UI, the boilerplate of UI and server in Shiny module programming. And I can just copy and paste that into the chat, and you can just copy paste it. So the first thing that you need to do to create a custom teal module is, of course, to create the UI and server in like a Shiny module programming mechanics, right? Like I said, these modules are mostly created with using Shiny modules with just the adding of a teal flavors on it. Okay, so if I type teal module like so, so for me, I can see a snippet. So can somebody try it? So here, if I press enter, right, then I see my snippets here. Can somebody try it if they can see the snippets generated for them or not? I'm gonna look at the message. Oh, okay, some Yukta, let me get you this link. So that's for you. But going back again to the snippet, does the snippet work for anyone or just me? You can unmute yourself if you want to say something or just type it on the chat. Trying. Okay, go ahead. So yeah, it's if you just type teal mod like this, something will show, and then if you press enter, then you get the whole template.
So the snippet is supposed to work with teal module, correct?
Yeah, just teal module like so.
No, I don't have it, I think.
Okay, no worries, no worries. That means that it just confirmed my suspicion that I think the global option is not being duplicated when we create a new session. So thank you for trying. Then that's fine. This is just a boilerplate of custom Shiny module programming, at least for the UI and server. And then the module part, I'm going to explain that a little bit. So let me finish this first, and then I'm going to copy this code. I put it on the chat, and you guys can just copy paste it. And then this is nothing. This is just, we're doing nothing right now. We're just setting up the functions, according to Shiny module programming, but we are calling a module function here, which I'm going to explain in a second. So here, what I did was that this is the UI and server structure on how to make Shiny module, right? And then you need to name, you need to name it. And what we recommend to do, just name them the same thing. So if I say custom teal module like this, then it'll be custom teal module underscore UI, custom teal module underscore server, and then the actual module that you're going to call in the init function is going to be custom teal module. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to remove this UI code. This is just me telling that, hey, put some UI code here. I'm going to remove this as well. I'm just saying that, hey, put server code here. Then I want to talk a little bit about this module statement. So module statement is how you make a teal module. So once you define your UI and server in the Shiny module programming way, but I'll show in a second what the teal flavors are, then you actually want to pass this to object into the module function in UI and server. And that's it. You probably don't need to touch any of this anymore unless you want to add more argument to your server that may affect your server function. But if you don't, this is the only boilerplate that you need. Okay, so let me copy this and I'll put it in the chat, and then we can start creating some custom module. So hopefully everybody got that. I just ping it in the chat. Copy paste it, and what we're gonna do is just we're gonna make a hello world custom teal module. So the hello world custom teal module in the UI is just gonna say I'm just gonna do tags, which is like a Shiny HTML element, and maybe I'll just do like an H1. This is just for headings. And then I'm just gonna say hello world, like so. And that's it. This is all the functions the custom module gonna do. It's just gonna give me a header says hello world. Okay, hopefully you follow along. Now that we make a function, then now we're ready to use this function in our teal apps, right? In our init. I also have a snippet, I guess, but you can still take this from the intro, the first intro. So here I'm using the snippet. I'll copy this over to everybody. Hold on, before I do that, so again, in order to make a teal app, you need data and you need module. We have just made a new module that does a very minimum thing, just saying hello world. This is the name of our new modules. So I want to use this one now. So I no longer want to use this example module. I'm just going to use custom teal module like so. Right. So I call it like a function. And this part, again, this is just part of my snippet, but you can use iris2 and empty cars to what we've done before. You can copy and paste the one that you did earlier on intro. You don't have to use CDIS data. You can use teal data as well. It's up to you. This is just the snippets that I prep ahead of time for me. So let me copy this over as well, just for simplicity, because I really just want to focus on writing custom teal module. And if I run this code, okay. Maybe I need to label the multiple actual argument. Maybe I don't need the label then. Let me just take this out for a second. Okay, I'm not sure why it's giving you that error, but here it is. It's the module does nothing. It's just saying hello world, and I can still do filtering, but it just won't do anything. But everything else still works. Now we just have to build the module according to the data structure that coming in from our teal data object. Okay, so let me pause here. I'm not sure what, so what I did was I comment this out. For some reason, it did not like the fact that I called label layer and passed this function in there. Let me try to run this again, or otherwise we can just ignore this for now and just leave this label like so. So let me try this again. So what I want everybody to do is just comment this out for now. I give you the code and just add this hello world and try to run the app. And I was just curious why this is not working. Is it because I need to define something here? Oh yeah, maybe. Okay. Yeah, so the label in the module function, it gives you the it gives you the name of that tab. So here I said my custom module like so. So when I load it, now it says my custom module. I hope that's clear. Okay. All right. So we need to improve this custom module. We need to make it more than just say hello world. How about we make it kind of similar with our example module, because that's always a good entry point. Let's see if we can reproduce the example module and just by writing it ourselves. And by doing this, I'll tell you guys the little flavor that we need to do when we write this. So first thing first, if we want to build, so here's the idea. The idea is we're going to have a drop down. The drop down is going to be selecting different data set in our teal data, right? It's going to, if you have two objects, then like iris and empty cards that we just did, then it'll show two data sets there, right? And then when we want to, when it gets selected, it'll just show some table output, okay? But we'll do a better one. I think we can do the from the DT package. Let's just do that one. Okay. All right. So let's remove this. I'll when try to follow along with me. We'll take a break so you can type this together with me. All right. So to make the drop down that's actually a select input, right? So Shani select input like so, input ID. Now in module programming, you always wrap your ID with a namespace function. So here, my boilerplate already provide this object. This is a function object. So moving forward, every time you do an ID on the UI, you always have to you have to wrap it within this NS function. Now you can call whatever you want. You can even call the different, if we make another select input, we can even call it with the same ID, but it will not be conflicted because of this mechanics. Okay, so here I can just say data sets, for example. And then actually we need to wrap this in a container. So maybe I'll do div like so, like this. Oops. Like so. All right. So we have a select input. Let me load this select input and just see if I miss any other. Okay, so there are a couple of choices here. There are label. So I need to put some label. So I can say that this is data sets, right? And then it says choices, also a required argument. So with teal, the choices of your UI will always be null, because when the UI got rendered, the UI doesn't know yet what your data looks like. And we will touch the select input and we will update it once the data enter our server, and then we'll update the select input. So for now, we'll just leave it as null. And that's all. We're gonna make one more for the data table. So here, maybe data table output like so, right? So if this here I'm using from the DT package. So if okay, just need an output ID. So output ID is gonna be maybe table, right? All right. So usually I stop here and I just double check everything looks okay. So if I run my code, okay. I mean, yeah, I see some select input here. There's no warning or error, the one that really caught my attention. So this looks good so far. Okay. So now we're done with the UI, because that's all we want. We want to show some tables. We want to show some selection of data sets. Now we get into the server, but let me stop here. Let me stop here and I give maybe a minute for everybody to type the code of the UI. Okay. All right. So hopefully you have added this into the code. Now we're going to switch to our server. So the first thing we want to do is that we want to update our select input because the server knows the data. How does the server knows the data? Because if you notice in the server function argument, there's a data argument here. And by just adding this, this is the mechanics to push the data from teal framework into your module. Because teal will get the data from you, from teal data. It will process any filtering information from the filter panel, and then shoot the data to the module by having this argument in the server function. So now we know, so our server have access to the data. We just don't know what it looks like after the filter, but we'll find out soon. So what we're gonna do here? Here, what we're gonna say is that, hey, Shani, please update my select input, right? So if you load this, okay. So what is the input ID? The input ID is gonna be, now, in the server, we don't need to use this NS anymore. In the server, we can just say, this is the one that we want to target. That's the input ID that we want to change. So here we can just do data sets right away. And then here, what do we want to update? We want to update the choices, right? Because right now it's blank. So we wanted to show all the data in our teal data objects. So we know we need to touch choices with something. We just don't know how yet. If I call my data, and the reason I have this result is because I run this one time, and so it was reading this, right? And that's how I get this verified teal data object. All right, so now I can see it has two data set in the teal data object. The names, this update select input it should list the name of the data, the name of the object in teal data. So how do I get this name from teal data? Well, it kind of the same with the way if you have a list, a name list, and you want to put the name from that list, then you can just use names data. That's how you get it. So, okay, that's what we need. So I'm just copying this. I'll bring this over to here. The only other caveat that everybody needs to know is that by the time the data enter our server function, it's always going to be reactive because we want it to be reactive. We want it to be always be updated if there's any changes to the data. And to call a reactive object, you just call it like a function like this. And that's all you need. So within these lines of code, you have now changed the choices of this select input to be the object in the teal data. So let's run this real quick. There you go. We got ADSL and ADAE. Great. I'll give you 1 minute. Go ahead and type that into your code. Okay. Now, the second part of the task that we need to do is that whenever something got selected, we want to show the output of the content of the table. So here we already committed, we're going to use the DT from the TT package called the data table. And the pair of data table is the render data table. All right, so now we need to handle the reactivity here, because we only want to show something if someone selected something in our select input data set. So what we really want to do is we want to observe that select input. And in Shiny, you can do that by saying that, all right, please observe, which is observe event, right? Which one is the input data sets that we want to observe, right? So, and then you can do an expression. I think that's the syntax. And here now we can tell, so what happened if somebody selected these data sets? Okay, so what we're gonna do is when somebody select a data set, we want the DT to render the data table. And then what is it gonna be? Oh, actually, it's gonna be output. And then this is table. And then we're gonna say that, hey, this is for the output of that table, you're gonna render a data table. And then the result is going to be whatever selected. So let's come back here again on teal data, right? So this is teal data. We found out how to pull the names from the data, right? But then how do we pull the content in the data, in the teal data? You just use double bracket. So if I do double bracket like this, then I'll get the content, and that's what we need. So now we know we need something like this, right? So when something got selected, I want to pull whatever got selected from teal data. But we're not doing it hard-coded like this, right? This has to be what was selected. So in Shiny, we can do input data sets like so. And recall again, every time we want to refer to the data in the server function, it has to be a reactive object. So here we're going to call it like so. And just from experience, we know that sometimes reactivity happens really quick. And because the choices we set it as null before, there is an opportunity for Shiny to read it a null with choices null. So we don't want null. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna say it required when this observation kicks in, we only gonna run this if it's not null. So in order to do that, we just say required like so. All right, so I'm gonna run this. All right, so something object DT not found. Oh, okay. Hopefully it's supposed to be a double colon like so. So let me stop that and run this again. All right, here we go. So now if I switch between ADAE and ADSL, then I can see something. If I want to maybe only for specific country, for example, then I'll get something. And because I've provided some join keys to these data sets, I can see that these numbers get reduced both in ADAE as well and ADSL. Okay, so I'm going to stop here, give about 1 minute, and go ahead and type this. Okay. I keep forgetting to start this, but I saw 40 on my time it already 1:48, so I'm gonna move forward. I guess we don't have much time yet. I only have another 45 minutes with you guys, so see if we can pick this up a little bit. All right. So we've done all of this. So let's move on to the next exercise. So what I want to focus on this one is that we're gonna build more into what we just did on the third exercise. Instead of a table, we're gonna make plots. We're gonna make some histogram. And that means we need more element to choose from. We need some parameter for tuning on setting the behavior of the plot. And we're gonna play around. I think so. The majority of the work is that if either you're gonna make some tables for or summarization, or you're gonna make some visualization. Okay, so I got a couple to-do lists here. So let's go one by one. Okay, so first thing first, I already put it here. We're gonna be using ggplot2 to create the visualization. The histogram is gonna be from ggplot2. So here's the design. The design is we have a data set, and this is the data set will be selected, which we already did. But after the data set is selected, we want to select the columns from that data sets, right? And then the idea is once a column is selected, then we'll create some histogram. But we want to be careful because the variable that got selected, it has to be numeric. So we're going to control that as well. We're going to add another slider just to make the bin width of the histogram. And then finally, we push all of this into the server code and then it can generate some histogram for us. We're going to learn a little bit about the third argument of within, so I can show you how to replace and inject value into teal data object. All right, let's do it one by one. So this is, if you open the number 4 exercise, then you see some boilerplate here. And then we're gonna add the part that we said add code here, that's what we're gonna do. All right, so first thing first, according to the plan, we wanna make one more drop down. So I'm just gonna copy paste the data sets here. And maybe this time I'm just gonna call it variables. It meant the columns of that data set, right? So this is variables. Okay, so after that, I want to have the slider input for the bin width. So to do that, we're gonna do shiny slider input. And if I call the manual here, because I don't remember the record. Okay, so that's the manual. So I know it needs input ID. And again, every ID in UI has to be wrapped in NS. So here I just call it bin width. Bin width. Did I spell that correctly? No, I didn't. Okay, bin width. Okay, here we go. And then I need label, and then I'll just say bin width, like so. And then the minimum could be 1, maximum could be 5, and then value could be 2. Just for fun, I'll add stuff for 0.5. Okay, so we have this. We have the slider. We have the second input, and we need plot. Okay, so we need some output plot. So here I'm just gonna do shiny plot output. And then the output ID will be PLT. All right. Okay, so that's done. If I run this, my hope is that I will get nothing on the dropdown. Oh, by the way, you probably noticed as well on choices, again, it's null because we don't know yet. The UI doesn't know the data, so we always said it's a null. So here you'll see the data set actually gonna have something, right? But nothing in the variables and nothing in the bin width. Okay. All right, so after this, we're gonna go to our server. So let me count again for 1 minute. So you guys can type this. And while you guys typing, it says, is there a difference between data table output and DT output? As long as it's got paired to the same, let me pull it. I thought it has some like, I thought it has the respective one. Yeah, I think if you're using this, the DT output, I think you have to do render DT. And then if you do data table output, and then you use render data table. Trying to see if there's anything there. Yeah, you see this one, Matt? I think it's just a matter of it being paired. I'm not sure specifically if there's any visualization difference, but I do recall it has to be, it's identical. Okay, good. Yes, there you go. Yeah, so it does have to be used with the same pair. That's what I remember. Michael just confirmed that it's identical. So there you go. Thank you guys. All right, so that's 1 minute. Okay, let's move on. So we're gonna add some code on the server now. So here, the story is still the same. We want the second select input to be reactive to the data set got selected, right? So now we know this already. We need to do some observe event, right? So what is it that we want to observe? The input data sets, right? Okay, so how are we gonna observe this? So what we're gonna say, again, I'm gonna put some required statement here because I don't want the Shani to respond too quick and reading data set as null. So what I want to do, I actually want to do the exact same thing. I want to do the exact same thing with the previous one. So I'm just going to copy that. But instead of targeting data sets, I know I'm going to target the variables. So what is the choices going to be? So if this is how you pull the data set from teal data, right? We use double bracket, if you recall. If this is how you pull the data set from the teal data object, then you probably noticed it already. In order to pull the variables, you just use the names again. So if I just do names like so, yeah, that's what I want. So I know the function, the value will be something like this, right? And this is the easy part. It has to be in a reactive object. We don't want to hard code this. So this is going to be data sets, right? But I do know that for this histogram to work, we're only interested in numeric data set, right? So what we could do is we can create a new variable called only numeric, for example, and we just do an sapply to check every single one of them to make sure that it's numeric. So this statement right here will pull this thing right here. This is pull the object. So we're just gonna run sapply on this. Then it will check on every element, every column, and then we're gonna call is numeric by it. So it will look something like this. So we look data. Well, I can just copy paste this one because I don't want to hard code anything like so, right? And then I'll just say is numeric. So with sapply, it's going to run this function for every single column. And then the only numeric will get a vector of true and false. Then we'll just pass it here, only numeric. So let me run this to confirm that this is actually working. Good. So see how, I know H is numeric, but the other is also numeric. So in ADAE, yeah, we have more columns. Perfect. Nothing going on here yet. So far, so good. Let me do 1 more minute so you can type what I just did on the this observe. All right. Now the last one, what we need to do is we need to make the output. Okay. I did have a shortcut on the plot that I want to do, but we're gonna hold on to that just a second here. So what is the story next? The story next is that now that we have the data set, we have the variables, then we need to inject this new code into teal data. And we know we can inject this using within. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna to use within and make a new object, run within code, and then we're gonna add this new code, and then we're gonna make a new teal data object. So it looks like this. New data. And then this is gonna be within. We used within before, right? So this is gonna be within. The first argument of within is going to be a teal data object. And this is the teal data object that we've been using so far. So that's the one that we want. We want to build upon on top of it. So I know this is going to be the first argument. And then now it's time for expression. And this is when that code comes in. This code coming right here. All right. So what we're doing right now is that we're adding this piece of code and we ask teal data to evaluate it because we're using within, and then add it into whatever that we had previously, and it will return us a new teal data object, which we're going to assign into new data. Okay. However, teal data, it's very isolated. It doesn't know what's going on outside of its object. You may think that, oh, I know the input data set here because I have it like so. I can just pull whatever that I had in the UI, and instead of input data set like this, I can just do input data set. No, that's not going to work. And because we're focusing on code reproducibility, we make teal data super tight, and it's and really secluded from the environment. But what we can do is that we can substitute the value that we set here with something else outside of teal data. So I'm going to open the within statement one more time. Actually, maybe if I just do within, it will give me a good one. Oh, this one. Okay. So there's this dot at the end of within statement. There's dot at the end. And this dot, if I scroll down, which is the third argument, it goes like this. It's kind of like the name value pair again, just like how we did from the beginning with teal underscore data. It's a name value. It's saying that, hey, if you see this value in my teal data object expression, the code expression, please replace it with this value. So the example saying that we have a variable that has a value, and then there's an expression in the within statement that has this variable, but this has no meaning. Then we said that, hey, replace that with valid species that we just defined outside of teal data. So that's what we're gonna do here. We're gonna do, and I put this input underscore just as a clue, because these are the three things that we're going to replace, right? Input data set, input vars, and then input bin width. Okay, so what are we going to replace it with? Well, obviously, we're going to replace it with whatever user selected in my input. So here, this is where I can just use the input $sign that comes from the Shiny UI, the UI that we just built. So for this one, it's going to be input variables. And then the bin width is going to be input bin width. like so. One last thing what we need to do is that the input data sets here, this is from select input. Select input returns character. And in ggplot statement, this cannot be character. It has to be a name. And so we have to convert this character into a name. And you'll see this technique a lot in our teal module package code base. And what we're really gonna do, we're just gonna say as name. And so this is just to convert this into a name object. So we can refer this as a name. So we can do like, and we'll do the same with both the data set and the variables input vars. So it would look something like this. We don't need to worry about bin width. Bin width is a slider input, and by default always return numeric type, and numeric type is what needed for geom histogram bin width. So we're done. At this point, we have made a new teal data object with extra code added to make the histogram. But one last thing we need to do is that we always have to return a reactive teal data object because that's how teal framework wants it. And that's because everything here is always reactive. So it's very easy to do. All you need to do is just make another variable. We're just gonna call it result. And here, the function in Shiny to make things reactive is reactive. But then instead of, then here we're just gonna pass an expression. So don't forget the curly braces, like so. And then here, I'll just copy that and paste it here. So now this is now become our new reactive data teal data object. And from this point forward, we will always going to be using result. No longer the data object like what we've done previously. Okay. Let's see here. I want to make sure this worked on the first try. I think, I want to make sure that the story completes. So when the data set is selected, right, we want the select input, the second select input selected as to be populated and to be selected as well, right? So we only want to run this plot if that selection is completed in the input variables. So we can also do another observe event. So let's do another observe event, and we can say, okay, this time we want to look at input variables now, right? We want to look at input variables. So with the input variables, we can do, okay, it needs to have a data set, and then it needs to have a variables, right? And then we want to make sure that the variable that gets that we required is actually going to be part of the variable names of the input data set. So we can do something like this. Did I do like this? Okay, so this is really making it tight that the variable that we selected, it has to be exist in the data set that was selected previously. So that's all this two required statement does. Only when these two condition is fulfilled, then we run something. And in this case, first we built the new teal data object. Now the second thing we're gonna do is we're gonna show the output. So we know the output called PLT. So now we're gonna say output PLT, right? So this is gonna be render plot, right? So it's an expression. If you recall again on teal data object, like so, you know that this is how we pull something out of a teal data object. And that's exactly what we're gonna do here, except we're not going to use data anymore, right? We have a new data object now. So this has to be result, and it has to be reactive, right? Here, I know the static object of the plot is my plot. So here I can do it statically like this, which is fine. But on the other, we want it to be reactive to user interaction, and that's why we use the input $ statement here. I hope you guys following along because this is the end of it. So let me run this and I'll give maybe 2 minutes this time because it's a little bit bigger. All right, so that's what it looks like. So now if I switch to different variables, everything changes. If I go to ADAE, yep, we see some reactivities going on. If I make bin width bigger, yep, I can see something happen as well. Okay. So let me stop here. I'll stop right here. And maybe this time I'll give 2 minutes because that's a lot to write. And you guys can give that a try. All right. Assuming you were able to do this, I mean, congratulate yourself. I think you just become a teal module developer. And really, the rest of this, we're going to pick it up from 5 to 7, and hopefully we can do it in 15 minutes or so. It really is a lot quicker because this is the hard part. The rest is just pulling stuff out of teal data. And that's exactly what we're going to do with show our code, right? So the next example, the next exercise is that we're going to make a buttons. And this button, when it's clicked, is gonna show the code for user to reproduce if they like what they see in the visualization, right? And this is not a hard part because we already deal with the hardest part, which is the teal data part, building this, adding more expression, adding this reactivities between user interaction in the app. So really at this point, we get a complete result of teal data, and then we just need to pull the code out of it. And then that's gonna be our show our code. If you want to use the one that we have, the behavior is like this. If you click it, the modal will show, and then there's going to be like a copy to clipboard and dismiss. And if you like that, then we can make this even easier for you. We have a package called teal widgets, which we use everywhere in our 2 module packages. And then there's a UI and server that you can use just for this specific behavior. And that's what we're going to do. Okay, So the goal of exercise 5 is to add a button that says show our code. And then when it's clicked, it's going to show the content of teal data object that we built, the new one already. All right. So I have a little snippets here. If you're interested about reproducibility, this is the vignettes that talk about that. But I'm going to open this manual. So, okay. So this is a shiny module that pops up for verbatim text. That's not what we want. Exactly what we want. So what we're going to do in add code down here, we're just going to say teal widgets. This is what we want to add. And then the ID is going to be show our code. Remember, it has to be wrapped in NS. And then the verbatim content. No, this is the server. So the button label. So the button label, that's going to be show our code like this. And that's done. So if I just run this real quick, then it has a button that does nothing. So look at that. But if I click it, it does nothing. Good. So first behavior done. Now let's scroll down. So here is where I want to add the server. So the server right here, verbatim output server. Let me see, do I need to do some assignment? No, I don't need to do some assignment. That's fine. So here the ID is going to be, let me just add teal widgets server. The ID is gonna be the ID that I provide earlier, which is show our code. So I'll just put that here. Now, verbatim content. Okay, so let's take a look at our data. So I don't know if you recall, but I did try to pull a code for the data in the beginning on exercise 1. And the function to do that, it's called get code. And if you pass data like so, then you'll see that code. But you only see the data code for now, which is like the pre-processing part. It's because this is before it enters teal data. But you recall that we have made a new teal data object in our server. So that's the one that we want to call. So here we can use the same method, get code, but instead of data that we call result like so. However, we need to wrap this into reactive because every time the teal data get updated, we want the get code also got updated. So it has to be wrapped in reactive. I think there's one more. Okay, title is another required. So here I can just say show our code like so. All right, so let me run this and you can see what that looks like. So if I click show our code, perfect, that does it. Let's prove it that it works. What if I filter by country? USA, and let's make it a little bit bigger to bin. Okay, so this is what it looks like. I'm gonna show our code and I'm gonna copy this. So maybe I'll rerun this again. I just want to do some comparison. So if I close this, I'll just open a new file. And if I run that, and okay, now I'm gonna call my plot. Okay, so if I run this again, just to prove that it's actually the same. So if I do ADSL country USA, I think it's 3. Yeah, identical. I mean, it's a no-brainer really, because everything got evaluated within teal data, and then we're just reproducing that the code within the teal data. And this is how reproducibility works in teal. Is because everything is stored within teal data object. and we don't evaluate things outside of teal data object. All right, let me give maybe 1 minute. It's gonna be hard to toggle top and bottom here, but so I guess I'll stick on the server part. But that's not a lot of code, right? I mean, this is super easy to achieve the show our code. So let me, I'll give 1 minute for everybody to type it. And if it helps, you can always go to the answers right here. Daniel, I think I'm gonna stop here. I don't want to jump into the reporter because I think it's gonna take more than 10 minutes.
I think that's a good idea. Always best not to rush it too much at the end.
I was hoping that maybe I can use the rest of the time, maybe just open questions to see if anybody has any questions for me. But let's wait until that's 2 minutes and maybe we can open questions. Or actually, I still have some slides that I want to go through, so maybe we can go with that first before I do questions. Okay, that's 2 minutes already. I hope you guys enjoy this. It's always fun for me to do this, to be honest. It can just makes me remind again like how we engineered this together and try to see if it makes sense or not. If it's something that doesn't make sense, please let us know. But let me switch back to my presentation. Okay, so everything that I told you about, at least the first part, the first couple of intro, we had some videos on this already. So you can either rewatch this or you can watch our video in our repo. Again, this slide is in the repo that you just saw. So you can always go back there and click the link on the PDF file. It'll take you to our README from Teal. There are two videos. I guess the only problem is I think maybe the version a little bit different, but there's some there's some video where you'll see me coding, then that will be like, okay, I might be using an earlier version of Teal, but the complete guide to getting started with Teal, I think is just conceptual. It's not coding, it's more like an animation. As I felt like that's probably easier to consume. I think we covered a lot, including creating custom Teal module. If you want to explore and not sure whether or not Teal is the right tool for you, we do have what we call the Teal gallery. So this is our attempt to kind of give a quick glimpse of a complete Teal apps, and then where users can play around. We even categorize it into a different category here. We have some of them are very clinical trial centric, like this one, patient profile efficacy. Somebody asked about like remote, right? So this is what I meant about teal data module, having the ability to kind of delay the data, wait until some remote connection happens before your teal app can run. And then some other features that I just didn't have time to cover here, things like transformator, decorator, shiny as a teal as a shiny module. You can play around here and see if this is enough for your use case before you become committed to using teal. I felt like this is always a great entry for those who are exploring different frameworks. Again, please check out our vignettes. We spent a lot of efforts to kind of redo it and maybe like 2 versions ago, and we still try to improve this. And we always try to prioritize our vignettes just to make sure that it can relate to the user, has a easy to understand language, and yeah. So we are under Teal is actually one of the product from a larger initiative in our company called Nest. But we're also part of Farmerverse, and that's why you'll see the repo that I shared today was under Farmerverse, and we have a great partnership with them, and we also have a great partnership with Fuse as well. With Fuse, we have a working group, and these are different companies coming in together. We do this once every 4 months, once every 4 weeks, where we just talk about like across industry adoption. Because we're not the only one that using teal. A couple other sponsor company also have been using teal. We just share knowledge on how to achieve and overcome some challenges on the adoption. It's just a great place to share knowledge across different companies in this open source effort. Okay, yeah, and that is all. Thank you again for coming over. I really appreciate it. Maybe I'll reserve the last 6 minutes just in case anyone has any questions, and you guys can ask me right now.
Thank you so much, Donnie. That was really nice. I love seeing some of these features that are just super, super helpful for so many different kinds of work.
Awesome. Yeah.
Michael, do you have a question?
Sure. Yeah. So to what extent do you think you could just ingest the Atom data set? So this is in clinical trials. Like obviously you couldn't do everything just because the data specification changes, the indication type is very different. But yeah, I guess to what extent could you automate kind of the ingestion of kind of the standard ADSL visualizations and analyses?
Yeah, I guess if you don't have that standard set up, I guess I think your question, maybe I'm reading toward automation of creating this app.r file. You're right. Like if it's not standard enough where everybody agree that these are the part that the column that's needed, then it will be hard if the variables are related to the tuning for that module. So for example, if you have a module and you have this drop down, right? And then for some reason on specific value on a drop down, it will cause the module to break. It's just because it's unexpected data type that being returned. So that's hard. That's hard to kind of gauge. And I think it all comes back again on how you shape your data. Of course, you can put because this is just shiny module, you could put a lot of assertion though. Like that's what we've been doing. Like it's hard for us to control the quality of data coming to the framework. So we have to put a lot of assertion here and there and just make the app gracefully fail, not like all of a sudden gray out or just quit on you. Even till now, it's still hit and miss, and sometimes we just missed it, and that's where the user tell us, hey, this error doesn't make sense, like I don't understand it, and that's how we kept improving things. That's a great question.
If you did make something standard enough, but you actually added something that wasn't part of the standard, you could just write simple code because you're writing code to create these summaries, and you could have it fail gracefully by just making a few assertions before you get into your building your figure or building your table, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like instead of displaying a table, just display a message like, nope, this isn't going to work because of XYZ.
Yeah. So we have several that are already built into the framework. I think we call it input validator or something. So this will gracefully caught it first before even make it into like the visualization for our modules. I'm talking about our modules. And but yes, that's exactly what we did. Like we just either pop in right next to the input selector, or we stop the visualization to run and just put like some error message that, hey, your variable is supposed to be a factor levels, and currently it's just a straight character vectors. Yeah, Sanushka, happy to connect if you want. Feel free to send it over. Thanks for stopping by.
What do you think the users love the most? Is it the reproducibility, like how you can download the code after like doing these interactive explorations so that you can then reproduce exactly what you made in your Shiny app? Or is it just being able to just look at the data generally in an interactive way? Like what do you think what do the users like tell you about what they're using the most?
Yes. So every time I show the code reproducibility part, that's always the ooh and ah kind of reaction that I get from the audience.
Yeah.
And it really is resonate on the demand of reproducibility. So that was great. I mean, again, we try to advertise it as like an exploratory data analysis, but if you need to make this a validated process, you can always just pull it out and put it in your TLG pipeline, which I assume is always going to be validated, right? And then all of this is another thing that we did that caught the attention was the ability to control the filters. So for those who may or may not aware, there's another working group trying to push Shiny as in our base submission. We're trying to push Shiny as the one of the deliverable as opposed to the static output. And it was challenging because Shiny is very reactive, right? User can tweak here and there a lot, right? So that was one of the motivation for us to have this very tight control of filter panel, ability to assign it right away. So the predefined filter that was already everybody likes it. Now we can lock it. That's also great. Now we can even make it module specific, like no longer global. You can still make it global, but most of the time it has to be module specific. And I don't think we fulfill all the checklists yet, but we start marking this one by one, and so hopefully we'll get to a place where that it can be acceptable for submission. So we're making small progress. I think if you guys interested, just Google out our consortium, our base submission working group, and that's I think we talk a lot about this. The latest one is they send Docker, so they don't want to have user FDA installing packages. They just send a Docker container, very secluded, with very limited ability to tweak Shiny reactivity, like no user inputs. Everything is locked. So yeah, if you're interested, look into that one.
Very cool. Is there anyone with a dying question? We're 1 minute over. All right. Donnie, thank you again so much. And thank you everyone for being here. And tomorrow starts the first day of the proper conference. So I hope you can join the conference as well, in addition to the last 3 days of these wonderful workshops and demos. Everything, including workshops and demos and talks, will eventually be posted to YouTube. So watch your social media space for that. And if you're not already following the Our Medicine conference on Blue Sky, please do. Thank you, Donnie. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
thanks for having me. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.